Andy B back here with The Gathering in a field near Swindon. Christian Vision for Men 2024 event is absolutely outstanding. I have some more guests for you coming this way, including right now Bekah. Hello, Bekah.
Hello, you. How you doing?
Yes, I'm exhilarated. I'm running out of superlatives to this place because it's absolutely blowing my mind good. Never done anything like this. It's unbelievable. How would you... I've been asking this question. What words would you use to try and describe the atmosphere? Because electric and outstanding just don't seem enough.
Oh, that's a fair point. No, it's a bit of a weird one for me being a girl in this space. So, and on one level, it's absolutely bonkers. But it is. I tell you what, I sat in the service this morning. I don't even know if you could really call it a service. It's a session. But I sat at the front and I just sat down whilst the men stood and sang. And it was incredibly emotive and moving. So it's just a really fabulous space where men clearly just come and connect. And it's lovely. Yeah.
Chatting to a few of the guys yesterday, the one thing that seemed to be kind of coming up in every conversation is, what do you come for? There's all these different reasons. And 2,000 men singing together seem to come up a lot because it isn't something that men would classically think of doing. We don't generally sing unless it's around the fire with a beer, and yet somehow they're sort of capturing that and translating it into worship, it blows my mind.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I got quite emotional sat at the front, but it's almost like it's something of the football stands, isn't it? It's that because in those contexts, men actually do suddenly come alive and they do start singing and they do let go, and seeing that in the context of God and church is just beautiful.
I think it's that letting go thing, which is what for me this is doing. Is it helps guys to be in a sufficiently relaxed environment to just get on with being and doing and just getting stuck in, whether it's the quiz or chess or battle tanks and whatever. There's all these things going on, but actually it's just guys being together, which generally I don't think happens. I think, chatting to Carl Beach last year, women are probably better at wanting to do that generally. I think men perhaps generally aren't, which is why I think this is great. But it's great to have this sort of a thing. Now, I've got you over for different reasons. Now, you're not just wife of Steve Legg, because that's just one part of who you are. The other bit, which I'm also really excited to talk to you about, is your day job, I guess, what of a better word?
Yeah, I mean, I am the wife of Steve Legg, and that is a big part of my life, as anyone can imagine. But no, my day job is working for an organisation called Restored, and it's a Christian charity that works to speak up about violence against women and girls, to equip the church to stand against domestic abuse in particular, and then we work really hard to support survivors of domestic abuse.
Which has to keep you fairly occupied most of the time. What sort of work does Restored do then? What's a day-to-day job? I mean, you're working against violence, which is we need to do that. But what are you actually practically doing? How do you help people to get on board with your message?
So the two key projects that we run is we run an online community for Christian women in particular who've been through domestic abuse, and that's just recognizing that actually for Christians it's a really hard thing to talk about, and it can be seen as quite taboo. And so therefore, if you have been through that, you can feel like you're all on your own. So we've got this online community which people can join really anonymously just by sending in an email, and then they can just access some space, or they can join an online peer support group, they can join online recovery groups. And we just had our very first in-person retreat, which was amazing. But that's an ongoing thing. So we, almost on a daily basis, there is something going on that people can engage with. So we need to run that and help people find us. There's a whole load of work around that. And then the other piece of work that we're doing is we know that what we do is really important, and we watch it transform lives, which is amazing. But it would be so much better in local church. It'd be so much better where people don't have to do Zoom. I think we're all fed up of Zoom. If people could just access that in their local community. So we've launched something called the Restored Beacon Network, which is churches who've chosen to purposefully partner with us to get really well trained, really well informed, not to become experts, not to start, going out and rescuing people and saving the world, but to be able to be in a position where if somebody comes and says, this is my experience, they can walk alongside them and be a really well-informed friend along the way. And it, again, is transforming lives. That's just two really exciting things. So we're training, we're equipping, we're writing resources, we're running courses, and trying to raise funds always in the middle of all of that, which is the bit I don't like. Yeah.
We don't like talking about money, but money is part of life. And yes, if you're working for God, no, we don't need money, but we kind of do. And yeah, I totally get that. I guess one of the things that always strikes me, and all the different people, whether it's the Christian Police Association or somebody trying to help with apologetics, we can all do something for somebody else, but so often we just need a bit more help. I was chatting to a guy who helps with adopting and fostering. It can be quite hard to know, well, what do we do? And having someone say, well, here's a bit of training, here's a bit of help, here's a place you can signpost to. It just makes it easier. So are you going into churches and then you're saying, well, here's what you can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got 3 levels of training that people can engage with online if they want, or we can come and run the whole caboodle in a local church. And some of that's just awareness raising, because the reality is domestic abuse is as prevalent in the church as outside, which is a horrible truth that none of us want to be true. And most of us don't realise that. So there's a lot of awareness to raise to say, actually, this is happening. You might not think it is. This is happening in your church. And if you understand it and can talk about it a little, and here's some simple things that you can do to just make sure your church knows they're allowed to talk about this, then actually you'll be able to help people who are in desperate situations. So we have like basic level of awareness, but then we run through training which really digs into the theology around it, because it's complex, and it's sometimes we've understood scriptures to be in a way that actually can get used to and manipulated to collude with abuse, which really is never God's intention. And then finally, we run a session that looks at, actually what does meaningful support look like? How can we do that well? And so, people can engage that. We can come into your church, or even individuals can just sign up online to do that.
I love the fact you've got these two. I mean, I'm hearing sort of two strands. You've got this thing of supporting people who are in the midst of the worst possible imagination, in their lives. So you're working with these people who, it's ostracizing. And when you throw in faith into that mix, yes, I absolutely can comprehend just how isolating and ostracizing it feels. Hard anyway. We can kind of understand that part, but throw in the faith, it becomes this other world of how what do we do here? Yeah. But giving people the ability to signpost, to have a voice, have a bit of training, that to me is it's such an important thing. Do churches engage well, or is it kind of crowbarring like, hello, we're here?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. So we have some wonderful churches that we work with who've come to us saying, look, we recognise we don't know enough, can you help us? And we've got lots of other churches who, there's on a spectrum, really. There's some in the middle that are just like, do you know what, we're just trying to do so much, this feels like one thing too many. And I understand that. Although I'd say this is really critical, but there we are. But then there's others on the other end who go, this isn't our problem, we shouldn't be talking about it, and they don't want to engage. So then I do feel like getting the crowbar out. But we're a small enough organisation at the moment that we've got our hands full with the churches who are ready to hear what we have to say. But it's important that around the edges of that, we're working to help the other churches hear the message, of that message to start to get through. Because I don't want there to be women, or men for that matter, who feel totally trapped and like they can't talk to somebody and can't get support because it's not something you can talk about in church.
No, it's a tough one. But having people who can say, look, here's how you can help. Having churches that get on board, that will then breed other churches who will get brought on. Having been in full-time ministry, you think we've got these 100 things to do. How are we going to squeeze another one in? But sometimes it's not squeezing something in; it's actually losing something, because you know what, this is more important. And it's taken a step back, but having someone who can come from the outside frequently to say, here's something else you can do, and here's how you can do it, and we will support and resource, which is something so many of the exhibitors here are doing. It's not just, this is what you've got to do. We'll help you, we'll walk you step by step with what you've got to do. Bekah, thank you. How do people get hold of what you're doing? I know, but they may not. So how do they get hold of you?
So the easiest thing is to go to our website, which is just restored-uk.org. If you just Google domestic abuse and Christian, we should pop up anyway. So you should pop up and better find us, but restored-uk.org.
Thank you for what you're doing, truly. This is Andy B at the gathering in a field near Swindon. I'm going to go back to some more music and come back with what's coming up after 3:00 in a moment.
Did you know Pure 24/7 Radio has a shop? Well, we do. You can buy merchandise while supporting the work that we do here. Simply head over to www.pure247radio.org/shop. That's www.pure247radio.org/shop.